The South African Human Rights Commission is calling for urgent action to be taken to end a hunger crisis in the Eastern Cape. The Commission is recommending that a state of disaster be declared. And Chris Nissen from the SAHRC joins me now. Chris, welcome. Good morning. I think the appropriate place to start, given the grim and troubling background to the story, is the story of hunger in the province. Share with us what your team found out.
Yeah, well, good morning to you and good morning to your viewers. Indeed, we conducted an investigation into the issue of hunger and poverty in the Eastern Cape, but we also found that this is not only the Eastern Cape, but there are other provinces as well where it is prevalent. And I mean, hunger has become a great issue in this country. And, you know, you will recall that in the Eastern Cape, there was a mother that killed the children because she could not afford. There are people that mix mud with maize in order to feed their children. So it's of great concern for us after 30 years of democracy that we still have this kind of things happening. And our recommendation to the Eastern Cape government were very firm that they should look into the matter and make sure that through find sustainable development programs that will enable people not to die in their poverty.
It's a concerning figure, as you say, affecting other provinces as well. I think we know the national average is that 27% of children in our country, in developing economies such as ours, are stunted. And I think it's around 61% of children under the age of 5 also iron deficient. So the very, very basics are not being provided and are not there. I know that the team conducted this investigation. Let's talk about the Eastern Cape then. In 2022, the results, I think a year later, were then shared with the public around towards the end of last year. We're a couple of months, a significant number of months after that. Have you seen or noted, you know, a real commitment to being able to roll this back? I know the Premier, Oscar Mabuyane, had allocated some funds as well. I think it was around 60 million to support 30,000 vulnerable households and to fight severe malnourishment. But are they moving swiftly enough?
Not at all. Not at all. And 60 million, given the depth of the poverty in that province, is not enough. Whilst immediate assistance is needed in order for us to alleviate poverty, we need a sustainable program of development that comes from agriculture, job creation, the extended public works program, etc., so that people cannot just be dependent on handouts, but that we meaningfully improve the conditions of the lives of people in the Eastern Cape. And we have said to government in our recommendations, and we will continue to say that we'll hold them accountable for, not implementing sustainable policies that alleviate poverty. And to remember, you recall so many years ago, there was a program, let us break down the barriers of poverty. And there is hardcore poverty in our country, and we cannot and must not allow that.
It is concerning because this is not a new phenomenon that we experience in South Africa, or it's not a new lived reality that we're experiencing in South Africa. And in fact, the plight of individuals and communities is becoming more and more dire. There was a recommendation that the SAHRC had made to the government in the Eastern Cape to establish a war room to deal with things, quite quickly, to get all of the departments who are directly responsible, so health and social development and education and others together. What's standing in the way, Chris, if, as you say, they haven't moved with the speed, urgency and intentionality that is required?
You know, I was on a visit 2 weeks ago in the Eastern Cape, and we visited some areas and, in engaging some of the local government leadership. There is a lack of political will. A lack of political will to address the issues of poverty, but also the state of our townships. In some places there's no water, children have to walk to school. It's just generally a lack of political will to say, how do we create a situation where our people can experience a better life for all of them?
I know that, Chris, you've got to also move on to your next thing, but okay, so the call has been made again. South Africans will say we've been here before. Those who are directly affected will say we're excluded from the conversations about us and the things that we need right now in terms of either policy deployment or resource deployment. So what should be happening today, tomorrow, the week ahead?
Well, we are going back to the government of the Eastern Cape because, you know, even we have in this country also, we've adopted the African Commission's Leave Nobody Behind as part of our cry to ensure that people are seen and realization of their rights. We will be engaging the government as soon as we can get, you know, the stabilization on the political level, but we will certainly hold them to accountable for not establishing that war room. If that war room is there, for not let that war room do what we've recommended them to do. If our recommendations are not adhered to, we will then have to think about litigation.
Chris Nissen, and we'll keep tabs on whether you ultimately have to go that route. Thank you very much for talking to us this morning. Chris Nissen is from the SAHRC, and it is such a terrible picture. Every single night, every single day, children particularly and the elderly going to bed without food.